What's up everybody, Griffey here. With Deadpool and Wolverine coming out this July, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to ruin my weekend watching X-Men Origins Wolverine so we could discuss Wolverine and Deadpool's first on-screen rendezvous.
You actually go outside in these things? What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
So after 3 X-Men movies that just kept getting more and more painful to the point that by the time you get to X-Men Last Stand, we had given up, right? We're like, don't stand anymore, just die. As you watch your heroes taking their triumphant last stand, you just kind of hope that the theater would melt, right? That you would be ushered out on a wave of melting celluloid, right? We were so over the X-Men franchise. So Fox finds themselves trying to restart a new franchise with just Wolverine. If we can make a great Wolverine movie that fans will like, can become a franchise, and we can perpetuate this comic book monopoly that Fox had at the time. The problem is that it feels like Fox made every wrong decision along the way, right? What you see in this movie is a movie studio that is just trying to force the IP into a realm where they can still be in charge without any concept of what actually made Wolverine or the IP cool. It did lead, however, to Ryan Reynolds finally playing Deadpool, right? The character that fans and audiences online had been pining for him to get a chance to play for a long time. Ryan Reynolds, due to the writer's strike, actually had to write and rewrite a lot of the Deadpool dialogue on the fly. So in the middle of this absolute travesty that is Deadpool in this movie, you do get the chance to see Ryan Reynolds finally sink his teeth into and try to begin wrestling with the comic book character he was born to play.
You whip out a couple of swords at your ex-girlfriend's wedding, they will never, ever forget it.
We start the film and we see a beautiful young Wade Wilson who's part of an assassin team, right? We get some of the wisecracking in the elevator. You start to see the foundations of a Deadpool on screen. It seems like this is going to work. And then Deadpool erupts out of the elevator, does some kind of weird Matrix ballet where he blocks all the bullets, ruthlessly kills a guy, and then essentially doesn't talk for the rest of the movie. The next time we see Deadpool, he is mangled and his face is sewn together, and they have this kind of terrible CG that masks his mouth. When your character is lovingly known to comic book fandom as the Merc with the mouth, the character that looks out of the page and talks to us, the character that gives us a wink and a nod, that as he's murdering and killing everyone, we can do that with a laugh and a joke and realize that these stories are not that serious. Our Merc with the mouth is reduced to a sewn up hodgepodge of powers that have nothing to do with Deadpool. Now his swords come out of his hand like Wolverine, right? Now he has Cyclops laser eyes, which he essentially never uses, and raccoon eyes. I guess this lets us know that there's a lot of inner turmoil that Deadpool's unable to express to us. He still has disco bell bottoms, so at least there's that. There is almost no sadder thing I've ever seen in the history of comic book movies than Deadpool finally fighting Wolverine on screen and not talking and not commenting and not giving us a laugh and a joke, a wink and a nod to how cool this moment should have been for us. Instead, he's just doing laser eyes and claw hands, and it's one of the saddest moments in the entire history, if not the lamest decision in the history of comic book movies. So this movie ends up looking a lot like Deadpool in this movie, right? Kind of a Frankenstein together hodgepodge of things we're supposed to like. They actually form this horrifying visage looking us back in the face, trying to murder our hearts and souls.
Are you Remy LeBeau?
Do I owe you money?
The biggest sin number 2 of the movie, Gambit, right? Gambit is so insanely bad in this movie. Gambit is the coolest Mr. Steal Your Girl who has ever existed in the history of comic books. I will not be taking arguments on that point. We see him as Riggins from Friday Night Lights, not the casting we all wanted. We see him playing cards, and then all of a sudden, he's gone. When Gambit leaps back in with his giant stick and lands in that alley and announces himself to the fight, I don't think there has ever been a moment that has landed as more of a wet towel. It was so pathetic and bad.
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
Gambit in X-Men 97, just imagine the Gambit we saw on that show, the Gambit on Genosha. He makes sure that we all remember his name, that Rogue will never again question who the man was. Imagine that Gambit, and then think back to what Origins did to him. And it will really illustrate crystal clear in your mind the sin against this wonderful character.
Fred Dukes? That looks like the creature that ate Fred Dukes. Hey, be nice, man.
But even now, as much as I hated Deadpool and Gambit, it's kind of hard to make the case that Wolverine in a boxing match with the Blob who can't find a shirt that fits him is not the worst moment in comic book movie history. How about when he says, "Bub," which is the iconic Wolverine line, Did you call me Blob? And that's what starts our titular boxing match? This is our heavyweight, did you call me Blob? What is happening? Why is this in the movie?
Did you just call me Blob?
I would challenge you, think of any moment that misses the mark more. Who enjoyed this moment? Who is it for? What does this scene do except for specifically insult fans of this genre? X-Men Origins Wolverine's great superpower is reminding us of things we like and showing them how immediately uncool they can become. Here's another thing that really kind of stabs you in the heart. This movie opens exceptionally well. It's a very tense kind of horror movie opening, right? The body horror of the bone claws coming out the first time as he leaps and attacks. In fact, watching the two brothers enlist in the military multiple times under what must be many different aliases to continually fight in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, they're storming the beaches of Normandy, is actually the movie we should have watched, right? This should have been Highlander. They should have stolen the framework of what might be the best movie of all time, Highlander, and just done that. Why are we not watching these brothers go through life dealing with their own acts and what they are, and using these conflicts to come back to each other? Is it terrible every time we watch Liev Schreiber get on his hands and feet and do that weird kind of carousel bouncy creature thing? Yes, it's horrible and it's bad and it hurts me. But when we watch him and Hugh Jackman talk in these cutting innuendos, these reminders of the past and what is lost, it actually resembles an amazing movie for a couple frames here and there. And the fact that they had an amazing Wolverine and Hugh Jackman and an amazing Sabretooth and Liev Schreiber, and this is all they used it for, is really the great missed opportunity of the film, right? They had the idea of the story they needed, they just cut it short so they could fill the movie with bullshit that we didn't want.
She can influence people as long as she touches them. Quite a useful tool in a seduction. It was never real, my friend.
It was real for me.
It's hard because I keep saying in my mind, what is actually the worst moment in this Wolverine origin movie? And it's hard to pick. We don't see a lot of dramatic give and take. There's not a lot of pull. Wolverine essentially just heals from everything, gets his scratchy claws. He doesn't save his girlfriend because he has to go to his logging job. That's one of those things, that's just bad screenwriting. There is no universe where we imagine that Wolverine, who has seen all of these things, is like, don't worry, the kindergarten kids will save her. How many kindergarten kids can defeat Sabretooth? 5, 6? No, Wolverine would be in that classroom. He would, like Billy Madison, be in that classroom, dodgeball ready, to make sure that Sabretooth pays if he comes messing around. I don't think she was a good teacher. I think that's what I'm saying. I think she was maybe a bad teacher, and maybe these kids are lucky that she was a traitor at the end, and she ran away. And I don't care that she had a sister who was abducted, who may or may not be Emma Frost. And I don't care that Wolverine forgave her and helped free other mutants, right? Because she's a bad teacher and he's a bad guy. And why did this movie have to happen to me? In summation, X-Men Origins Wolverine is one of the most horrifyingly missed opportunities in the entire history of comic book cinema, right? So that said, we can only hope that Deadpool and Wolverine this summer will kind of right a lot of these wrongs. One of the fun things about those two characters together is that they are very similar, right? Murderers who can heal really well. That's really what they are at their core. But Deadpool kind of doing it with gallows humor while Wolverine is played ultimately serious, right? The interplay of those two should provide, and should have in this movie, provided a really fun look at the two kind of worlds of comic, right? Our very dark, serious morality tales, and kind of the fun four-color mayhem that we've come to love. Deadpool found the redemption he needed, right? Deadpool is now an established and beloved comic book franchise with the right actor and the right tone and the right R rating, right? Deadpool has found his redemption already. You could argue that Wolverine, through the movie Logan, found his redemption too, right? So while you could argue that Logan and Wade have both found their redemption cinematically, I think there will be something so sweet about reuniting this odd couple and doing one last journey with the both of them. So I hope you're excited for Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters this July 26th. I'll be there praying that it'll be a better ride than this movie. I'm gonna go find my adamantium forgetting bullet.